Hello and welcome to this Astranti video series on the top 10 most likely unseen issues for the management case study November 2021 and February 2022 exam sitting. In this video we're going to go through, as you can see on screen, the top 10 issues we feel are the most relevant to the upcoming management case study exam. And just before we get into the actual 10 issues listed here, I'm just going to go through our reasoning for why we're actually doing this top 10 list. So what's the basis for our choices and how do you use these to prepare for the exam?
So what is the basis for my choices? Well, the first one is what the focus in the pre-scene actually is. Has there been a lot of material that's been mentioned in the pre-scene to do with a particular topic? Or maybe it's the opposite. Maybe there hasn't been something that should be mentioned in the pre-scene. And so it might be that that will be some of your unseen material in your actual exam. There is also the degree of importance that is attached to the pre-scene by the examiner. So after each exam, an examiner will write up a report talking about what students did or didn't write enough about. So if there are topics that examiners repeatedly say students don't talk about enough, there's a potential likelihood that it may come up again and the examiners will be looking for you to talk about it in your actual exam. Outside of the pre-scene, there is of course the strategic importance of particular topics to the company. You could look at the importance of a SWOT analysis. What are its strengths, weaknesses, opportunities and threats? And then what kind of strategic importance do the directors attach to a particular issue? Something that has a genuine impact on the business's strategy and critical success factors is far more likely to come up than something that is completely irrelevant to the company. There is also my own experience. I have written a wide variety of mock exams and seen a wide variety of past papers from CIMA, and so I have a good idea of the kinds of topics that CIMA are likely to test students on. And I also keep an eye out on things that are easy to examine. If a CIMA examiner finds a topic that they can write about that will be easy to assess and assess a wide variety of CIMA topics, then it is more likely that they will write questions on those specific areas. It is not likely that the examiner will try to write a really obscure question that's difficult for them to write and assesses an obscure part of the syllabus. So that's why I've chosen these, but how can you actually use these issues in your exam? First thing is to prepare the key models from the pre-scene information for your exam. So if I'm talking about particular issues and I say you could use Porter's 5 forces or a SWOT analysis, then go back to the pre-scene and prepare your Porter's 5 forces or SWOT analysis. But remember to adapt your models when you receive the unseen information in your exam. Some new points may be raised that you will need to directly address in the exam, and so you must adapt your models accordingly. You should also make sure you sit as many mock exams that cover these issues. For example, Astranti creates mocks based on these key issues that you can use to practice. But you should also sit as many mocks as you can, since it's the best way to prepare for your exam. You get experience writing your answers in the correct style and under time constraints. You should also find any relevant real-life examples. So if you're talking about a particular issue, then go online and find an example that resembles what was happening to the pre-scene company. How did this real-life company overcome a similar problem, or what kind of problems is it currently experiencing? And you can find these sorts of examples in our industry analysis. And in that analysis, we have prepared sample paragraphs that you can use to see what kind of style and how you should use your industry examples in the context of the exam. You should also learn typical key points, and this can be as simple as the advantages and disadvantages. This can be a really good jumping off point for evaluating particular points that may be raised in the unseen material. And finally, be prepared to use models to support your argument, to persuade the examiner that what you are saying is justified and makes strategic and practical sense for your pre-scene company.
So with introductions out of the way, let's start by looking at our first top 10 issue, which is digital ecosystems. So why have we chosen digital ecosystems? Well, the assessment outcome in the CIMA blueprint does say that we are expected to assess how suggestions made by senior management may impact the wider organizational ecosystem, and also be able to apply digital operating models in the context of a digital ecosystem. So this is all about our E2 topics on ecosystems, on digital operating models. You have to be able to understand not only what digital operating models are, but actually understand how they can affect the business ecosystem, how they can affect value creation, how it can affect things like orchestration in the ecosystem and the business environment for the pre-seen company. So what are the likely issues that could come about from this? Well, you could be expected to explain how we can add additional value to Frinta's business model. So we know from the business model that Frinta adds value by creating high quality premium products that are easy to use and install by customers. So the question is, how can maybe innovating on that design, how can hiring a digital workforce, how can the orchestration, how can moving into, say, a Wolfpack ecosystem benefit Frinta's ability to add value? Things like being able to identify how partnerships could help Frinta in its strategy. And as a result of that, you could be asked to explain the characteristics of different digital ecosystems and even recommend one for Frinta. So what are some key points we can raise about this? Well, Frinta is looking to work and partner with another business that can push out EatBurn, okay? EatBurn, while it's not explicit in the pre-scene, it would make sense, wouldn't it? Strategically speaking, Frinta want to reduce EatBurn's total market share of 60%, and one way they can do that is to make it harder for competitor smart devices to work with EatBurn's own products. And in that sense, Frinta would become an orchestrator for other smart device manufacturers, where the Frinta friend would become the nexus that connects all other smart devices together. So in that sense, you could say that Frinta's strategy, it would make sense for it to become an orchestrator to move in this direction when it comes developing its ecosystem. And so as far as relevant theory is concerned, you're going to be looking at things like digital technology and ecosystems, so connected and open, simple and intelligent, fast and scalable. Understand those concepts and explain them in the exam, as it could be useful when it comes to justifying your point as to which direction Frinta's digital ecosystem should develop in. You might also want to mention drivers of consumer change, so things like contextualized interactions or on-demand services. And connected digital systems, in fact, would probably be incredibly relevant for Frinta, given that the whole point of its smart device is to connect other devices together and create some sort of beneficial ecosystem from those connected devices to create a better device through their mutual connections. I know I said connections a lot there, but it is what it is. It's a way of augmenting the utility of a device by having them use other devices to improve what it was originally capable of. So that is digital ecosystems. It's not a particularly complicated topic, but it's one that could have some significant relevance for this pre-scene company. The other one is intangible assets. So this is IAS 38. Intangible assets. It is a key F2 topic, and issues concerning goodwill have come up in recent exams. Now, goodwill is also part of group accounting, but there have been some recent exam questions about how do you account for goodwill, the types of goodwill, how that can apply to a pre-scene company. So it's recommended that you do learn about intangible assets, especially given that 40% of Frinta's own non-current assets are in fact intangibles. So it does play a significant part in the company's balance sheet. And it also has been told to have a specific research and development department, and research and development and the capitalization of those expenses is, well, you need to know the criteria for capitalizing those expenses under IAS 38. So you could be expected in that sense to explain how goodwill is reported depending on how it's acquired. So if it's a purchased goodwill, so through an acquisition, that has different accounting requirements to that of to internal goodwill, which is generated from within the business. And as I was sort of alluding to, you may have to give an explanation of whether or not internally generated goodwill can be recognized in the financial statements, and also how to capitalize on internal goodwill through research and development expenses. And as I said at the beginning, one key point to raise is that 40% of Frinta's non-current assets are intangible, so it's important we get the reporting on this right. No goodwill in the balance sheet, so the business has not made any acquisitions as of late, and so the point to raise there is that the business may not know what the requirements are for goodwill because it's never had to acquire a business before. And so that might be part of a decision you have to make, or a decision that's being made, and you have to then explain the impact of that decision from a goodwill standpoint on the company's balance sheet. And then research and development, Well, we know that Frinta have reverse engineered competitor products, so it may be that management want some explanation for a particular project they're working on. What part of the project can be capitalized based on certain research and development expenses that have been incurred during the project's current lifetime, you might say. So, relevant theory, obviously, IAS 38 intangible assets is going to be the big one. You're going to be expected to identify what the intangible assets are, the difference between purchased and internally generated goodwill. As I said, if you learn those concepts and you understand also the group accounting side of things, so that's not IAS 38, that's to do with business combinations, but it is relevant to both. So it could be worth reading up on group accounting and goodwill recognition there as well, just to prop up any answer you might be required to give. And then make sure you learn the criteria and the steps for the capitalization of research and development expenses.
Now, while I've got your attention at the end of this video, I'd like to make you aware of the other products that Astranti sell as part of the case study course. So the first of these is a series of study text and tuition videos, and these come in two flavors. You have our written study text if you prefer learning through reading, or you can watch our videos if you're more of a visual learner. Now to start with, we have an exam technique study series, which breaks down how to succeed at various case study levels. We'll be looking at exam technique, writing style, and planning that you need to nail to be successful in your case study exams. And to accompany this, we also have a revision series dedicated to the theory side of things. This is because at the case study level, there is a large amount of theory you need to be capable of using in your case study exam. So what we've done here is we've taken the key areas of the theory from the 3 case study levels and condensed them into a series of chapters to help focus your revision. Moving away from the more generic products and onto the products that are specific to the case study pre-scene, the first of these is the pre-scene analysis video series. First and foremost, this contains a series of videos where we break down the relevant pre-scene at the appropriate level of the qualification, page by page. And throughout this video, we bring out all the key points that could be relevant for you in your exam, looking at various topics and things you might need to consider when revising for the case study. And then to supplement the pre-scene analysis, we also have 2 videos. We have the strategic analysis where we give a broad overview of what kind of strategy the pre-scene company is using and where it might be going in the future. And then we also look at the top 10 issues that we think this pre-scene company might be subject to and something that you may need to take into consideration when revising for the case study. We then provide an industry analysis document and accompanying video. CIMA like to see you demonstrate wider industry knowledge in your exam, and this is what this industry analysis does, as it gives you the wider industry knowledge you need in order to fulfill this requirement. Essentially what it is, it's a large document that we've compiled on all the relevant industry information that we have gathered so that you don't have to do the revision yourself. And then to accompany this, we of course have a video that goes over this document to pick out some of the key points for you if you'd prefer that. We also produce a number of mock exams for every sitting. We write 5 mock exams for the first exam sitting, and then we add 2 more supplementary mocks for the second exam sitting. We design these mocks around the specific issues relevant to the pre-scene and make them as close to the real thing as you will see in the case study exam as possible. So these are a great way to practice your exam technique and test your knowledge of the pre-scene company under timed conditions. And then to add value to this product, we also offer a marking and feedback service. So we have a range of highly skilled finance professionals working as freelance staff for us, and it is these staff that provide the marking and feedback service. So this is a great service to use in conjunction with our mock exams, as it gives you a great idea of how you're progressing in the areas you need to work on for your case study exam. And then if you're in need of extra exam practice, we also provide a more generic question pack product. So obviously there are only so many questions you could write about on a specific pre-scene. So what this question pack is a series of generic questions on generic scenarios that we come up with at Astranti, whereby we look to test specific topics that come up regularly in the case study exam. So if there is a particular topic you are struggling with and we've only tested once in our mocks, and you'd like more practice on it, then these question packs will be a great product for you to turn to. The penultimate product on this list is a product for those of you who would like to get a full overriding picture in terms of your revision all at once, and these are our masterclasses. So these are our expert tutors who hold 2 masterclasses every exam sitting, and these essentially cover all key aspects that you're going to need to know for your relevant exams. So from particular theories to analyses of the pre-scene, all the way through to tips and tricks you can use in your exam. And finally, such is the confidence we have in the quality of our product that if you do purchase a full course from us and you unfortunately do not pass your exam using our product, then we will offer what we call a pass guarantee. So if you did not pass your exam after purchasing our full course, then you will receive the materials for the next exam sitting free of charge. Okay, thank you very much for listening to that. I hope you find our products useful, and of course I would like to wish you the best of luck in your exam from everyone at Astranti.